Hey, what is going on, guys? What is happening, YouTube? It is Johnny with Rules for Rebels, back with episode 44 of Side Hustle Thursdays. Today's story is a fun one, and it highlights three important points. Point number one, there's a market out there for literally anything. Point number two, if you have an idea, even if you think it's kind of wacky or goofy, if it doesn't require much time, effort, or money to launch, you have nothing to lose by testing it out. You never know what'll happen. And point number three, anytime you have an idea, don't just think about it. Don't just write it down in a notebook. Make a point of taking a step towards action that forces yourself to commit to doing something with that idea. So today's story is one of a woman who half jokingly and on a whim posted a Craigslist post offering herself as a professional bridesmaid and wound up turning it into a $20,000 per month side hustle. Jen Glantz has never been married. However, she has walked down the aisle dozens of times as a bridesmaid. A while back, she was invited to two separate friends' weddings on the same day, and a friend kind of joked with her and said, "You should be a professional bridesmaid." Well, that idea kind of stuck with her, and as a sort of a joke, she posted a Craigslist ad offering herself as a paid bridesmaid to assist with wedding planning, difficult parents, to appear in pictures, and even to help throw a bachelorette party. To her surprise, within a couple days of posting, she had over 200 offers, and the whole thing actually kind of wound up going somewhat viral. Again, she only did this half serious as almost a gag. However, she was shocked by the response. She wondered if she could actually go through with this, and if she did, what services would she offer, how much would she charge, all those types of questions that one person would wonder. Jen wound up coming up with some packages and options to offer, and she decided to take a stab at turning this into a business. Her most expensive package was $1,500 and included planning help, consultations, and even a therapy session, and that didn't even include attending the wedding. For an additional $500, she would attend the wedding and walk down the aisle, as long as the bride also paid for her dress. She also offered an option to assist the maid of honor for an additional $150. Now, what was funny about this story is one side hustle actually wound up leading into another. So Jen not only was offering herself as a professional bridesmaid, but through this ad, she wound up receiving over 200 job applications from women who wanted a job from her. So as opposed to turning this into a service and hiring freelancers to be bridesmaids, having a background in both copywriting and teaching, she had an idea. She would create a course and offer a course that would teach other women how to start their own professional bridesmaids business and how to market themselves. So Jen sat down and pumped out a course which she charges $249 for on how to become a professional bridesmaid, and she typically sells at least one of these per day. From this entire project, she earns about $20,000 per month, and all from this side hustle, which started with less than $1,000, and again, just as nothing more than a simple Craigslist post as almost a gag. About 35% of her income comes from the training program, and the rest comes from the wedding packages. She typically works with about 5 to 6 brides per month. And because of all this whole thing wound up going viral. She also received a book deal from Simon & Schuster called Always a Bridesmaid for Hire. Why had nobody thought of this? Well, it probably had been thought of, but most people would probably think it was too silly. A bridesmaid's supposed to be a friend or a family member. Who would not only bring in a stranger, but also pay them $1,500 on top of it? But apparently there's a pretty large market for this, and this goes to show that if you have an idea, no matter how crazy or how goofy, if you can get it launched quickly and cheaply, it's worth a try because you never know what'll happen. Another great thing about being in the wedding industry, people pretty much expect to be ripped off. A service that you would normally pay $20 for, just because it's involved in a wedding, the fee jumps up to $100. Because the bridal industry is kind of known to be an overpriced ripoff, and people are willing to pay really any price that's thrown at them. It has its own pricing scheme. Now, just a quick note on pricing scheme, and if you guys can think of any other ideas, feel free to throw them out there. I mean, it could be something like, I think this is more due to scarcity, but, could be something like the same way that you pay $8 for a water bottle at Disneyland, or you pay $200 for a $20 bottle of Absolute vodka at a club. Certain industries are known to be kind of ripoffs and are kind of known to have their own pricing structures. One that comes to mind for me is like corporate gifts and things like that, right? Like a couple steaks at the grocery store cost, maybe $10 a steak, $15 a steak. But as soon as they're thrown into a box and sold as like a corporate gift pack, all of a sudden the price jumps up to like $80 for four steaks. Or something like a fruit basket. You know, I forget the name of that company who makes the custom fruit baskets, but what would normally be $8 of fruit from the grocery store, because they decorate it and throw it into a fancy basket, all of a sudden now it has a $60 or $80 price tag because it's a quote-unquote corporate gift. So certain industries, certain niches tend to have their own pricing schemes, and if you can jump in on one of those, it can be really profitable. Can you think of any other industries or situations that have their own pricing schemes? If so, drop them in the comment section below and we'll discuss. Anyhow, I thought this was a fun story. I wanted to share it with you, and I'll leave you guys with one other point which kind of stuck with me at the beginning, and it's something Tony Robbins is big on, and it's also something that I try to keep in mind. So if you have an idea, like Jen's idea, right? She had this idea about, I wonder if I could offer myself as a professional bridesmaid, and instead of just putting it in the back of her mind, instead of even writing it down on a scratch piece of paper, what did she do, right? She actually went out and posted a Craigslist ad immediately and kind of committed herself to that idea. Well, that's something that I try to do as well. So, you know, maybe I'm sitting on the couch watching some TV at 1:30 in the morning, about to go to bed, and I have an idea for an e-commerce site or an affiliate site or a blog, you know, some kind of blog I want to start, something like that. Rather than just tucking it away in my mind and say, hey, I'll have to get to that one of these days. And rather than even, you know, I do think it's a good idea to jot things down on a piece of paper, but that's not really committing yourself. Rather than just jotting it down on a piece of paper and say, hey, you know, that'd be a good idea for a site, what I'll typically try to do is, you know, work through the idea. And I don't care how late at night it is. So like I said, 1:30 in the morning, 2 in the morning. At the very least, I'll go buy the domain name. Maybe I'll go buy the domain name and lock down the social media handle. So maybe I have an idea for, I don't know, swearjar.com, and it's a site where people are going to give me just, you know, anytime they swear, they're going to go on the site and put money. Kind of a silly idea, right? But it's one of those things that, you know, an idea pops in your head and normally you wouldn't run with it, but why not? So maybe I'll go buy the domain name swearjar.com, and maybe I'll also go lock down like the YouTube channel, the Twitter handle, Reddit, you know, etc. Go lock down a couple social media handles for swearjar.com or whatever. And by doing that, even though, you know, social media handles are free to set up, a domain is what, $10, maybe 99 cents if you get a promo code. But by simply taking some step forward and committing yourself to that idea, it's like 10 times, 100 times more likely to happen. So anytime you have an idea, make sure you take some step towards action, some step towards committing yourself to that, and you'll be so much more likely to follow through. Anyhow, guys, that's what I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the story. Until next time, this is Johnny with Rules for Rebels, signing off.